Hello again. Welcome to your weekly dose of higher consciousness. And this podcast and video was created as a foundational basic to all of the podcasts and understandings that I'll be teaching you based on the teachings of Dr. David R. Hawkins, who wrote Power versus Force, Truth versus Falsehood, Letting Go, The Pathway of Surrender, along with numerous other books of based on higher consciousness, which most of this audience you may be interested in, but it is advanced spiritual students that would be interested in those books. So many people want to know, how can I measure truth? How can I calibrate the truth of anything? And it's fun to imagine that you could actually calibrate the truth of anything, which you can. However, there are some prerequisites to doing that. And calibrating the map of consciousness and all of Dr. Hawkins' research was done through a science called applied kinesiology, which is also known as muscle testing. And the consciousness calibrations of the actual testing process, applied kinesiology and muscle consciousness calibrations is kind of a science, calibrates in the 600s, which is huge relative to most scientists. Most sciences calibrate in the 400s. So to come across a science or a way of testing that calibrates in the 600s is evidence of jumping into non-linear space. The mind is all linear. When you get into the 500s, you're getting into non-linear truth, spiritual truth, which is of a higher nature and not necessarily something that we would understand or perceive coming from lower realms, which most of us are. So that's why it's a little different, and scientists could be skeptical of it. So, because it's calibrating truth, and if someone thinks that they're right about something and consciousness calibrations are not confirming that, that could be a bit of a problem. Just like Jack Nicholson said, you can't handle the truth. Hey, you got to be willing to accept the truth. All right, so in all of Dr. Hawkins' books and on YouTube, you can Google it, how to do consciousness calibrations. You can Google it, and all of his books share it in the back of the book. So I'm going to read a little bit about this, just to remind me how to do it. You can do it yourself. I do not do it myself because I know that the part of me that wants to be right and gets in the way of the calibrations. So if you're really attached to an outcome, you're likely attached at a lower level and you can't get an accurate response. So it's important to note that the intention, as well as both the tester and the one being tested, must calibrate over 200 in order to obtain accurate responses. So you got to be honest with yourself. What's my intention for wanting to know the truth of something? Is it to serve me? You know, am I going to win am I going to be rich and famous someday? Well, first of all, you can't calibrate the future. So get over thinking you can test the future. You can only test what is present and what is past. All right, so that may disqualify many people right from the get-go, because you've got to separate yourself and have someone else do it who is of higher consciousness and who's what Hawkins would call clinically removed. You got to be clinically removed from the outcome. And that's can be difficult, especially if you want to start a business, you want to test marketing methods of a business, you want to test, relationships, you can do all of this as long as it's present tense type of stuff. So when you're testing something, you don't test a question, you test a statement. So you're going to state something, and the consciousness calibrations, the testing is going to say yes or no to the statement. Importantly, though, is you've got to ask permission to test the statement first. And there can be many reasons why you could be denied permission. And many topics around the world are for individuals in general, permission can be denied because you as an individual may perceive it incorrectly because you're operating from a lower level of consciousness, possibly about a topic. Or you may on your own, as a spirit, as a soul coming here, want to figure it out on your own, or you want to be able to figure it out as a human being to kind of earn your own karmic merit, to discover something without knowing the truth of some things, right? Some things we're not ready for the truth of. Many people are not ready for the truth, like politicians, the government, stuff going on in the political world and television. There's a lot of fallacious stuff going on that they definitely don't want to know the truth about, seemingly. All right. So the muscle test has to do, let me tell you how you do the muscle test. You do it by, so you have two people. I personally think having two people is a good idea, because trying to test stuff on your own, I get in my own way. I won't even do it. I can't get accurate tests. I'm not even going to try, even though I would love to know the truth of many things. I feel like I got to hire someone to do the testing for me, which I've done before. And I will do it again when I find someone who's of higher consciousness and integrity that understands Hawkins' work and cares about operating from a higher level. Like, they're detached. They don't care about the answer of the truth. So the muscle testing is usually done by a subject holds out an extended arm like this. So let's say you're working with someone, you hold out your arm like this, and the other person is going to say, I have permission to test this statement. And then the other person who's pushing down, all right, someone else is pushing down on your wrist, will say resist, and it'll push down on the wrist. If the truth is present, that wrist will hold strong. If there is no permission to test a statement, you're going to go weak like that. The arm's going to go weak. And it does take time to work with another person so you get into a rhythm. It's not going to happen right away. It's likely you may get weak. You're not going to be able to read the response because you haven't got into a groove of working with somebody on how to get accurate responses. And if you care about the truth and making decisions, you got to work with it first and get into the groove of that, because many decisions you want made or you help with could be tied up with your ego, as opposed to neutral. You need to have a neutral position. All right. So you're going to hold the arm out. And again, you can Google this and Dr. Hawkins will show you the technique as well. Applied kinesiology is used throughout, it's used in health. Applied kinesiology is used throughout the health professions. You can find how to do it. So first step, ask permission. You say, I have permission to test this statement. Resist. Does it hold strong or does it hold weak? If it goes weak, you don't have permission. Try something else. If you have permission, then you're going to state the statement. And a great way to start our test is just to say your name. My name is Liz. Resist. I hold strong. My name is Liz. My name is Joe. Resist. Hold strong. I go weak on Joe. I'm not Joe. So you can test obvious things that are true and false. So again, you've got to have integrity in the process. And if you don't, and you just want to hear what you want to hear, then you're going to get inaccurate results. So Hawkins mentions here in the book, let me read it to you, that he had found that, experience from online discussion groups has shown that many students obtain inaccurate results. Further research shows that at calibration 200, there is still a 30% chance of error. So if the people testing are at 200, they're just at 200, there's a 30% chance that there's an error. The higher the levels of consciousness of the test team, the more accurate are the results. Now, Dr. Hawkins and his wife do all their calibrations live right in front of you on their lectures because they want to test. Hawkins is of highest integrity to speak the truth. And when he is teaching of high spiritual truth and the road to enlightenment and the pitfalls, which he is sharing, and thank God for that, because I hit the pitfalls and I was in something I didn't know. It was frightening what I was in, and he talks about that. But he has a partner for which he's operating from higher consciousness, so he calibrates accurately. I'm pretty faithful that that is true. He can calibrate, and whether it's, you know, off by 10 points here and there, it doesn't matter, as long as you understand the levels of consciousness in general, right? In general, so that there's no question that, like, hatred has no power. Hello? Hatred and killing is not true. You can see love is the truth. Love is the truth. Love, joy, and peace is the truth. We're just not there yet. But use that tricky little mind of yours to use reason and rationality. Like, well, it makes sense to me to align with love if I want what I want in life. Anyway, back to the test. So the best attitude is one of clinical detachment. Posing a statement with the prefix statement. This is helpful. If you start in the name of the highest good, this statement calibrates as true. So when you introduce, my intention is to calibrate for the highest good of this statement. When you use, it's of the highest good that I calibrate this, the energy of that kind of moves in and gets your ego out of the way to an extent. You got to feel it. Like, I can feel myself get removed when I say this. Does this serve the highest good and not me? I'm part of the highest good. So you're part of the highest good. Does this serve the highest good or not? When you prefix any type of testing with that, you're moving into more accuracy, and you'll feel the energy of detachment and caring about integrity of the truth, wanting to know the truth. And then as you move along, you would test, you would say, where on the map of consciousness does this calibrate? And you'll test. You'll hold out your arm and you go, this statement calibrates at 100 above, hold, resist. This statement calibrates at 200 above, resist. This statement calibrates at 300 above on the map of consciousness, resist. You go weak. Then you can fine tune it. I'm like, where are we at on the map of this statement? And you can calibrate the level of consciousness of whatever it is that you're working with. And again, I've been studying Dr. Hawkins for over a decade and reading all of this, and I still can't calibrate because I still get stuff in my way. And of course, I tell myself that. I just want someone else to do the calibrations, but I also want to align with people that operate from a high level of consciousness, that care about calibrations. And there are some online Facebook groups, consciousness calibration groups. I belong to one of them, and there's another one I belong to I haven't really checked in on, but they're doing some interesting calibrations. And when you read the language of their intention, you see that their intention is loving and to serve the highest good. It's kind of, you know, when you're in that type of group, you're operating in a higher level of consciousness. Okay. So I think that's what I wanted to share on the levels of consciousness. And again, if you get any of Dr. Hawkins' book, Power versus Force, Letting Go, Truth versus Falsehood, you can get all these on Amazon. You can get them on my website, trumpeteroftruth.com. I'll have links to all of these along with blog posts and whatever. But check out videos too. But again, you got to remember, you got to get your ego out of the way of all of this. You got to have the intent for the highest good. You care about the truth, and then you're going to get more accurate results. And you got to suck it up if you don't like the results. change something, right? You're going to make a change. All right. So that's the foundational basics that we've covered, everyone here. Thank you. I hope you found this helpful. Please leave comments and questions anywhere you're finding me on the website, trumpeteroftruth.com, the podcast, trumpeteroftruthradio.com, or YouTube, trumpeteroftruth.tv.com. This is your weekly dose of higher consciousness, foundational basics come back to these often in case you need a brush up as we move along. And subscribe to all of our channels if you found this helpful. I gotta know, I wanna know if you find this helpful, you guys. I will start sharing personal stories for sure because I've got a lot of them. Ciao for now.